Here's a segment from the latest edition of St. Charles Parish Today, a monthly local talk show.
The word is bathymetry. Try spelling that 3 times fast. The context clues point to this word having something to do with water, and it does. It's the study of the underwater depth of lake or ocean floors. You might be thinking, why does this information matter to me? Wouldn't this be more interesting to the Coast Guard or maybe the State Department of Wildlife and Fisheries? Well, earlier this year, the St. Charles Parish Geographic Information Systems Office set out to start collecting bathymetry data in certain waterways across the parish. They purchased specialized equipment and headed out in boats to begin to map out and diagram the depth of familiar areas, such as Bayou des Allemands. And the data will be used for an important purpose. Here to talk about bathymetry and St. Charles Parish's Geographic Information Systems efforts is GIS Coordinator Luis Martinez. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
So what exactly is bathymetry?
Well, as difficult as it might sound to say, I guess, but it's really just all it is exactly what you said, is a study of the depth of the body of water from the water surface to the seafloor. That's all it really is. What expands out of that with improvements in technology, which that's what really leads to a lot of other different sciences and applications, where that's when it starts to get a little more confusing. But it's all it really is if you look at it, is the marine equivalent of topography. And if Earth's surface has, undulations and fluctuations, mountains, canyons, valleys, so does the subsurface of the seafloor. So we can map all that out and get information about how water goes, or what's going to happen with water as it moves through that body.
Gotcha. So this is a little bit different for you guys as far as collecting data out in the fields. How do you guys go about that?
Yeah, it's never really been done in this area. You've got to have the drive, not just the technology. It's very detailed. We have a person back at the office that actually stores and kind of manipulates and handles all of the incoming data, because we collect information using a GPS. There's a transducer involved that sends a signal to the bottom of the seafloor, an echo sounder that receives that signal, and then there's also a data logger that fires the GPS and all that other equipment at one time. So there's all this stuff going on electronically, going on in the background to capture not just the location, but the depth of water of the water at that exact location. So there's a lot of other things that we have to constantly do, is check like the fluctuations in the tides. So we compare our data to water elevation data that we capture before, during, and after the survey, as well as the tide gauges that are out. Like NOAA has a tide gauge. Well, just to make sure that we're kind of in the same parameters and there's no huge fluctuations.
Right. So this information is being used for a specific purpose. It kind of spurred the whole idea to do this. What is that about?
Well, typically, a lot of the traditional paper maps were pretty hard to analyze and get a lot of information out of, because you can't really extract too much other than just visually overlaying things that might not be, spatially correct, and there's all sorts of errors that can go into that. But this information that we're collecting now, we can actually, with increase in accuracy, just inches, we can actually look at like that surface or that point where the elevation or the slope of the land is going to meet up with the water's edge. So we, if it's deep or if it's shallow, if there's an obstruction, we can tell how the water is going to flow around that structure, or if there's anything underwater that's going to impede the flow of water to a low or high lying area on the Earth's surface. So before, it was really difficult, to create a strategic, I guess you could say, flood risk assessment for the parish.
Right.
But, with this kind of information, I mean, there's a little bit, of course, a good bit of effort involved to do it, but the accuracy will, it'll pay off in the long run, definitely.
And that's super important for the FEMA flood map appeal process, to have that data exactly accurate.
Yeah, because a lot of the guesstimation that goes into the modeling is that typically, Lake des Allemands 5 feet deep, all the way across. Well, it might be, but the little changes that we see by looking at it at a very local scale, not a huge regional scale, there's there's also all sorts of changes, shoreline vegetation changes. There's structures, obstructions, levees, roads, all kind of information that we can all compile into those hydrodynamic models and stuff, and we can actually see exactly, within centimeters or inches, what will be the water elevation at a piece of on the Earth's surface. Especially with how the wave will run up, the wave height, anything that might diminish that wave, obstruct the wave, and block it, move it around a certain area. So all the information that we're gathering, it serves a purpose.
Right,
So
right.
we have an advantage over many people. Many other parishes don't even have close to the amount of information that we have. So
Yeah, no, it's definitely a good thing, and we can turn it over to FEMA and say, hey, this is what we found. So
that's exactly. We're taking our data set. The engineers are getting an exact copy. FEMA gets a copy of it. We have 3 eyes on it, so we can bounce ideas off each other. But it's definitely worth it.
all right, well, very good. And tell the folks out there about your office, for those who may not know what the GIS office kind of has its hands in as far as the parish departments and how it helps.
Well, as you said earlier, it stands for Geographic Information System. It's essentially, if you look at a way to store, manipulate, and analyze data, it's an information database that somebody can hand you, let's say, like traditional paper map, or let's say a spreadsheet with a bunch of numbers and addresses, and this house is made out of brick, this one has 2 sheds, etc. Well, the way we look at it visually is that we can put it on a map, and we can put symbols and easier see, oh, well, this house is, made out of brick. This is a trailer, blah, 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 So you can actually use all the information it's more visual, I guess, than just a spreadsheet would be. So we also collect the information around those structures and look at the relationship between different data sets also. So we can look at, for example, the elevation data that we just captured, the LIDAR, which stands for the laser, the light intensity detection and ranging system. Basically a laser that shoots off of an airplane at a constant elevation, and we can see what way the water is going to flow on the land. So we can say, okay, well, we know there's going to be a storm surge of 6 feet here. This house is, 5 feet above sea level, so we need to put, a foot of sandbags around it or something like that. So there's a lot of things that you can gather from it. So.
All right, well, very good. I appreciate you coming on the show today. It's a very important topic for everybody.
And thank you, Roger.
All right.
Watch the entire episode at www.scptoday.com or on SCP TV.